Welcome to Gambling with an Edge with your hosts Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin. Bob Dancer is America's premier video poker writer and teacher. He's written 10 books, including Video Poker for the Intelligent Beginner and the best-selling $1 Million Video Poker. He helped develop the computer software Video Poker for Winners, and in 2004 he was inducted into the Video Poker Hall of Fame. Richard Munchkin has been a professional advantage player for over 30 years and is in the Blackjack Hall of Fame. His book, Gambling Wizards, Conversations with the World's Greatest Gamblers, is a testament to the many ways you can succeed at gambling. The goal of the show is that you'll be a more knowledgeable gambler tomorrow than you were yesterday. And now, here are Bob and Richard.
Good evening. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest tonight is me, Bob Dancer. Richard's considering taking up video poker and was asking me some questions about it, and we decided the conversation just might be interesting to others as well. Will be talking to me in a few minutes. A month or so ago, we spoke about two video poker players who were able to use a glitch in IGT's double-up software to extract more than $500,000 from casinos, primarily the Meadows Casino near Pittsburgh and the Silverton Casino here in Las Vegas. The charges have been dropped, and apparently the guys get to keep the money. A few days ago, there was a story in a Pittsburgh newspaper that said the Meadows Casino was made whole, meaning some identified party stepped forward and gave them the $400,000 plus they had lost. My guess is this unidentified party was IGT. Whether this was done as a way of standing behind their product or perhaps avoiding a lawsuit they figured they might lose or have negative publicity in the lawsuit, the big payout was made. Assuming it was IGT, Richard, I think this is the right move for them to make. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I would guess that Silverton has probably been made whole as well. I mean, I'm sure that if they hear one casino's getting paid off, I'm sure they'll get paid as well. So, I think they have to stand behind it. It was their fault. It was their bug in the software. And, you know, I remember when this first came up, I said that I thought the players would end up having to return the money, but apparently they didn't, and good for them.
I guess. They apparently are not allowed to play in Pennsylvania anymore, but for $500,000, I suppose they'll get over that.
Right.
All right. Being an expert witness, I've done that a little bit in the past. Richard, I hear you are having some experience with that.
Yeah, I was contacted to be an expert witness in a case, which I can't go into the details right now because the case hasn't come about yet. But I immediately tried to pawn the job off on other people, but for one reason or another, some they didn't want to hire those people, or in some cases the people didn't want to be expert witnesses because it would involve traveling back east if there is a trial. So I ended up with the job. So far I had to prepare a report, which was daunting at first. I mean, I was sent 6 inches of paperwork to go through. But I actually found it really interesting. And I had 2 hours of surveillance footage to go through, which was also really interesting. And I can tell you again all the times that, I and others have said you have to wear a hat in the casino. Boy, this surveillance footage bears that out. But hopefully I'll be able to talk about the case once it's actually over. But for now I can't. But I would do this again. I mean, as I say, I'm enjoying going through the process.
Yeah, I've done that 3 times, and although I suspect you're in a table game area, and mine was related to video poker, but it was interesting and fascinating. Good. We received an email addressed to gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com concerning a player who regularly wonged in and out of blackjack shoes. The player didn't have trouble from the casinos for doing this, but generated a lot of heat from other players. Players often spoke up and complained that he was messing up the order of the cards. This player likes the game of blackjack, but can't stand some of the players. He wants to know what he should do about this, Richard.
Well, unfortunately, the only thing he can do is get a thicker skin. It's just part of dealing with civilians in casinos. And I feel for him. I, have run into it thousands of times myself. It's particularly galling to me when, a player is betting $5 and I'm betting, 500 or 1,000, and I have to take guff or hear guff from them. And usually I'll just give them a look and say, I'm really sorry you lost your $5, But yeah, I mean, they're going to do it, and there's unfortunately nothing you can do to prevent it. This also happens when we're often trying to get civilians off a table that we're playing on. And we get this same kind of, crap about the way that we play. And for us, we want to get them off because they slow the game down, and time is money. And the other thing that's even worse is when they point out that the dealer is about to make an error. That's really infuriating when, some civilian points out to the dealer, no, you have a flush. You're supposed to take his money. We could probably do, maybe a whole show about things that people do to get civilians off of their tables. Even if you're just a card counter, you don't want other people on your table because they slow things down. So my favorite story, we were trying to get a woman off a table, and one of my team, we tried everything, splitting tens and hitting 16 against a 5, and, she wasn't leaving. And finally, one of my teammates looked over, and she had her player's card on the table, and he looked at her name, and he left the table, and he went and had her paged. And the page was to tell her that her party was waiting for her by the front entrance. And so she went and got the page and went and gathered her chips and went to the front entrance to see, who was there waiting for her. And, we immediately locked up all the seats. And 10 minutes later, she came back and, she was like, well, that was my seat. And the dealer said, you left, and now they're playing. And so that was one way we got rid of somebody. But, it's a common problem. You just have to have a thick skin and let it roll off your back.
I love to hear your stories, Richard. I hope.
No, you must have to deal with this when you're playing video poker. I mean, I'm sure you get those people who are like, that's my machine, or I just left and I wanted to play there, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not so much. Usually it's squatters' rights, and if you're on a machine, you keep it.
Do you ever have to deal with, somebody smoking next to you, and you want to get rid of them because of the smoke?
Absolutely, but largely there's nothing you can do about it. You can ask them not to smoke, and if they tell me to stick it where the sun don't shine, then I will just either leave or put up with it. When I'm playing big stakes, often it's useful to have a machine next to me on my left side, so I can be inserting $100 bills to be creating tickets. And then when it gets up to like 2,000 or something, I'll cash it out. And when my current machine is out of money, I'll just put it in. And it saves a lot of time if you have that extra machine there.
Ah, that's a good idea, yeah.
But a lot of people don't. And so I'm not really playing two machines, but sort of I try to lock two up if I can. Now, I don't play two machines, primarily because sometimes players complain to management. I do not want players complaining about me to management. And so I will almost never play two machines at once. But I will play one machine and feed another machine.
if you feed that other machine, if you on the machine you're playing, if you hit a taxable while you're waiting for it, can you just jump over to the other machine and start playing it?
Yes, that is common, and I've done that, and part of it depends on how efficient the casino is at dealing with the taxables. Some can get them done in 30 seconds on a regular basis, and some take 15 minutes, and it depends. So that's a whole different story. Very good. All right. I received recently an interesting letter from the IRS, Internal Revenue Service. Assuming by interesting, you mean it made me very, very nervous.
I was going to say, assuming you mean terrifying.
Yes. The gist of the letter was that in a recent calendar year, my deductions were rather high, according to whatever standards they have. They told me this wasn't an audit, but that probably I should check out to see that what I reported was accurate. I called my accountant, who specializes in gamblers. He told me that 3 or 4 of his clients have received this identical letter in the past month and a half. He and his associates have never seen such letters before this year, but this year they're seeing them. His advice was to ignore the letter. He thinks the IRS is attempting to get people to confess that they've cheated. Once you tell them, yep, you caught me, I shouldn't have tried to claim blah, 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 then the IRS will bill you for the taxes you still owe, plus interest and penalties. He's advised me to absolutely not contact the IRS about this. Contacting them and inquiring about the letter will move you into a category that is more likely to be audited. If I get more correspondence from the IRS about this, to be sure, my accountant and I will deal with it as best we can. But until that happens, we're going to ignore this and try to go to sleep easily. Now, did you get one of these letters, Richard?
I did not, but yeah, it seems like a free shot on their part. It costs them nothing, and but did they say whether? Because there's a difference between writing off your gambling losses against your gains and writing off an expense. Did they clarify which it was?
No, and I'm assuming that it's the writing off the gambling losses. Like on a particular year, let's say as an example that I made $100,000 playing video poker, and that I had $6 million worth of W2Gs. Those would be, in some years, typical figures. So I have a log of 20, 30, 40 pages long, listing every one of those W2Gs and summing them up on an Excel spreadsheet, so $6 million. And then whatever the profit was, I would show losses of $5,900,000. Now, most people are not showing losses, expenses of $5,900,000. And so I'm always going to raise some red flags just by the nature of how we have to file the taxes. So I'm assuming that's what it was. And if they come after me, I have plenty of documentation, and I'm pretty sure that everything's going to be fine. It might be something else. I don't know.
Yeah, but still, it's always troublesome to deal with them.
Yes, nothing good comes out of. I mean, yes, it is possible that they will find that I overpaid and they're going to pay me back $2,000, but the chances of that are rather slim.
Yeah.
All right, so now, Munchkin, you get to interview me, so go ahead and try not to make it too tough.
Right. Well, so yeah, more than I wouldn't really say interview as so much as pick your brain, and I think there may be a lot of people in my position. So, as you know, I'm moving to Las Vegas, and when I get there, I thought I would add video poker to my
Repertoire,
yeah, exactly. And I'm also interested in trying to get my wife interested. Now, my wife does not gamble at all. But, I'm hoping that I can get her interested in coming out sometimes to play some video poker, mostly because I think that she would enjoy it if I what she would enjoy is getting, welfare checks from the casino in the mail and being able to go cash, even if it's a $50, coupon or something and a free buffet. I'm sure she'd be up for that. So first I'd like to talk about what she should learn and how I should teach her, and then we can talk about my situation.
Okay, good. Let's talk about. Are we going to give her a name or just your wife?
Oh, her name is Nelia.
Well, I know that, but
okay. Sure, we can call her Nelia. Sure.
Good. All right. So, good. So, I know that the place that you now own in Vegas and are waiting to move here when your son graduates is relatively near Sam's Town, Sunset Station, Green Valley Ranch, Fiesta Henderson, in that general area.
Yeah.
Now, the game for Nelia to learn is called Full Pay Deuces Wild. This is a quarter game, meaning $1.25 a play. It is 100.76%. If she gets good and pretty fast, she can get about $1,000 an hour through the machine, and which gives her an expected profit of $7.60 an hour, assuming she plays perfectly. Now, the casinos and some casinos like Sam's Town intentionally slow down the machine, and you have no chance of getting $1,000 an hour through the machine. But some casinos have pretty fast games. Palms has very fast Deuces Wild machines. The slot club, when you play these games, is minuscule. They sometimes, instead of $1 to get a point, they'll charge you $2 or $4. Sometimes you're not good for multipliers. At some casinos, you're not good for any promotions. Sometimes they do send you checks in the mail, but they're likely to be closer to $5 than $50. A 2-for-1 buffet is well within her reach. Gourmet dinner.
I should say that I can't see her wanting to go sit and grind. More than likely is, we go to some place to have breakfast or lunch, and maybe I could get her to play an hour of something at most. So if she were playing, let's move her up to, say, jacks or better. If she were playing $1 jacks or better or something like that, is she going to get anything for that?
Yes. And she's going to lose more than she gets. In other words, $1 jacks or better. If you're playing, so she's probably not going to become a real fast player. So let's say she's going to play 600 hands an hour. At dollars, that's $3,000. So in playing an hour, then she's going to lose $15. There's a slot club, and different slot clubs give you a different amount back. The Palms will give you half that back. South Point, 60% of that back. But you're still going to be a net loser of $6 or $7 or $8, depending on the slot club. Now, there can be double points, which goes away, or other multiple point structure. She will, if she has enough of those hour-long sessions where her expected loss is a couple $100, she will get back $20 or $30 worth of either mailers. She would get them maybe $3 at a time, just 6 times a month, or she'll get some kind of food coupons, but low level.
Sounds like it isn't really worth me putting the time in to try to teach her.
Yeah, if she were trying to, if she were doing this to make money, that's probably not the way. And she wants to do it $1 1 hour at a time, once a week or something. It's probably not a feasible way to go. If she's getting enjoyment out of this, and if she loses a couple $100 a month, it is no big deal. Then that it could have an action. But if you wanted to make money, 1 hour a week of playing, probably video poker is not it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So let's move to me. I want to make money.
Uh-huh.
Now I should say that back 7-8 years ago, I did learn. Almost learned jacks are better. I never really put in a lot of time, never put any time really into the casinos. I played some online. So I think I could get up to speed on jacks are better maybe in an hour or two.
Okay.
And am I right that there are a lot of games that play like jacks are better, that the strategy is very similar to jacks are better?
Good. Yes, you're right. And let me back up a little bit, and then we'll take that in. It is still possible for somebody like you to make money playing video poker in 2014. That said, it's harder today than it was 2 years ago, and it was harder then than it was 2 years before that. The edges are getting smaller. Casinos are kicking out more players. The competition between good players is getting tougher. It's reasonable to conclude that in 2016 it'll be harder still, and in 2018 tougher yet. It'll probably never be completely eliminated, but profitable opportunities will become scarcer. I cannot, over the radio, outline a roadmap that's going to tell you how you can make $100,000 this year at video poker. Now, I expect to make that much personally, but there's going to be lots and lots of adjustments along the way. And the best plays, if they're announced over the radio and jumped on by a lot of players, will be over rather quickly.
Sure, that makes sense.
Now, and even though I'm expecting to make that kind of money, there's going to be a lot of variance. It has been, for example, I have made over the last several years something between $80,000 and $100,000 a year in casino drawings. There's a wide variance of that. I can have lots of tickets in the barrel, a high percentage on something on 80, we'll say $50,000 drawing. Whether I get lucky enough to be picked this particular time has a large effect on my bottom line over the year. And so I have to continue to act as though there's a lot of these drawings going to happen. And so what my equity is, I can calculate that or estimate it. But whether or not it actually pops this year, there's a lot of luck in that. Now, on jacks or better, it is still reasonably widely available. It's a 99.5% game. It's likely the easiest video poker game out there, although there are forms of Deuces Wild which are every bit as easy if you're only playing at the 99% accuracy level. If you're counting playing perfectly, then jacks or better is the easiest. But if you're playing 99% accurate, maybe Deuces Wild is easier. There's lots of games which have basically, they're like jacks or better, except like jacks or better, all four of a kinds pay the same amount. It's not very much. It's 25 for one, which means 125 coins on a 5-coin basis, and 2 pair pays double. It's the only game in the world like that. Now, bonus poker is similar. Double bonus is similar, except 4 of a kinds pay more, and 2 pair pay single money. Double bonus is four of a kinds pay more yet, and the full house and flush goes down.
But the strategies for those games are very similar to Jacks or better.
I'm concerned with the word very similar, but yes, yes, they are reasonably similar. There's probably 90% identical plays on the hands between Jacks or better and double bonus, and I'm making that up. I don't have any accurate figure for what it is, but there's a large number of the same. But there's still significant that are different. Your edge on these games, when you have the edge, is going to be very, very, very small. You don't want to be talking about 10% errors.
I should add that a big part of me playing video poker is going to be about the comps.
Okay.
I'm very interested in show tickets and restaurant comps, which I'm not getting when I play table games because I'm always playing as a refusal when I'm on a table game.
Yes.
So so I don't mind taking my win in the comps, or at least a big portion of it.
Okay. Now the strip casinos in Las Vegas Strip have better comps on average than the local casinos. The rooms are nicer, the restaurants are nicer, the showrooms have bigger name entertainment. That said, they usually judge the game you play and something called theoretical, which has to do with the amount of money the casino expects to make from people playing that game.
Sure, that's the same in table games. Yeah.
Now on average, a theoretical of a game is about listed as 2% higher than it should be. So, like if you were playing a 98.5% game, casinos might be figuring that you're actually playing a 96% game because people who play a 98.5% game make a lot of mistakes. If you're playing a 99.5% game like Jacks or better, then a lot of casinos figure you make no mistakes. So they're figuring the better players are playing, so there's no so players are playing pretty close to accurate. So they might put a theo on that game of 0.5%, which means you're not going to come out ahead. Now, they are willing to give some of that back in terms of comps, in terms of cash back, in terms of show tickets and things, but not a lot of it. In Atlantic City recently, on the Caesars Entertainment, formerly Harrah's, they've changed the system so that if you're playing 9-6 Jacks or better, it might cost $50 to earn a point. If you're playing 8-5 bonus poker, it might cost $25 to get a point. And if you're playing lesser games, it only costs $10 to get a point. Now, the $10 per point has been typical at Caesars for years in video poker. But they're basically punishing you for playing the looser games. Now, if you play 9-6 Jacks only, you're not going to get a lot of comps. Casinos know that that's a loose game and that it's simple enough and the players can get good at it that you're not going to get much.
So what's the best way to learn the strategy? I mean, what I did in the past was I have a very old copy of Win Poker. Okay. So what I did in the past was, I would get that chart like at Wizard of Odds that showed the order of the hands.
Yes.
And then I would play Win Poker, and I would, if I got to a hand where I wasn't sure, I would look on the chart. But one of my beefs with Win Poker was it should have a mode where it gives you the hard hands, because so many of them are just obvious. You know what I mean? You have a pair, keep it. They should have like a hard hand training mode.
Well, they do. Well, depending on how old your copy of Win Poker is.
Oh, mine's probably 10 years or more.
Well, it hasn't been updated in more than 10 years. So now I sold Win Poker for years. It's a good product. I still have it on my computer. I still use it. I use Win Poker. I use Video Poker for Winners, and occasionally I use Wolf Video Poker. Each of the products have different strengths. Now, the technique you subscribed is getting a strategy. Whether you actually Wizard of Odds has a strategy. I prefer my strategy cards for various reasons. Different authors prefer their own strategy cards for different reasons. But you need to get a strategy and practice it and learn the exceptions. Now, if you want to learn it in depth, the way to go is to get the winner's guides written by Liam W. Daly and myself. These are about 120 pages of instructions on the individual games. Now, they start from raw beginner and go up to 100% perfect. And it's basically a math textbook on the game. So if you want to win at this, you got to treat it as applied math, because that's what it is. Now, the winner's guides are inexpensive, and another way to learn is go to the classes. I teach classes a couple semesters a year at South Point. Probably I'll have another semester this summer at the Palms. We're still negotiating on that. But Jacks Are Better is always the first class taught. There'll be a beginner's class, and then in a couple hours later, there'll be an intermediate class. And so that will be the explanations of why. If you're just reading a strategy, you may not know whether a suited king-queen is more or less valuable than a suited king-jack. Or a suited king-queen is more or less valuable than a suited queen-jack. Or why three-card straight flush with this many high cards and this many gaps has a different value than a three-card straight flush with this many high cards and that many gaps. So there's some things that you kind of need to learn. Now, you can teach yourself. You can read it in the book, or you can come to the classes and have it spoon-fed, which is, and a lot of people use a combination. There's big entries to barriers to entries at video poker. There are hundreds of different games in the casino. Each casino has a different slot club. Each casino has different policies in doing things, and trying to jump in there is formidable. Now, in blackjack, there are some rule variations, but basically the number of changes, strategic changes on
Sure, it's trivial. Yeah.
is relatively small. But in video
yeah,
poker,
it seems like the differences in the slot clubs is everything, right? It's not as so much the games, but knowing the slot clubs. But and in addition, something that I'm actually really interested in investigating is how they handle someone who plays both video poker and table games. You know,
as you indicated, everything has to do with the slot club, and different casinos, and calling it players clubs. Some players clubs track both slots and table games, and some don't. At many casinos, what you earn from the slot department is totally separate. So
you might get two mailers, one from the pit and one from the slot club.
You will get two mailers, but getting
that's weird.
Getting a half a room comp from the tables and half a room comp from the slots is awkward. Now, generally speaking, the comps you get from video poker are much, much, much better than the comps you get from playing table games. That's just the way it's set up. I don't know why, but that's the way it is. Now, in your case, of course, if you're a refusal at the table games, then of course you're getting no comps, and so. But you would not want to.
If I let's see, how can I put this? If I was interested in generating comps,
yes,
then I would play table games on sessions where I knew I was going to lose a lot. I would use a card for those sessions and combine that with video poker.
Okay, so you can, and you can get the pit will learn what your name is, and it has to match up with your ID, because in the slot department, when you get jackpots at $1,200 or higher, you have to show ID, and you're going to get a W-2G tax form to go along with it. The people who work the table games move around from casino to casino. So even if you start giving your name in the slot department and occasionally table games, that will give around. So if you're planning on doing this, you're going to have to be willing to give up your anonymity in a lot of table game situations. For you personally, Richard, that might be too high a price.
Yeah, you're right. That might, that might be a problem. But there might be certain places where I can, in other words, if I pick one MGM place because I want to generate Cirque du Soleil tickets at various properties, I could pick one store and, use that as my comp generating store, where I would use a card playing table games in a manner that would not get me barred or get any heat, but would just be for generating the comps.
Understood, but the guy who works at MGM today may work at Bellagio tomorrow.
Yeah, this is true. This is a danger.
All right.
This is a problem I'm going to have, living in Las Vegas anyway. It means I'm going to be seen a lot more often, whether I'm, using a name or not. You know what I mean? So I have to be careful about how much face time I give to any one place,
Yes, this was a...
Now, I haven't, one of our sponsors is videopoker.com, but
yes.
I haven't really explored them.
Yes.
Is this a good place to go learn something, go learn how to play?
Actually, yeah. The videopoker.com has invented a significant proportion of the games that are out there. Now, they didn't invent Jacks or Better, but they invented Jacks or Better on a triple play machine or a super times play machine or a 5-play multi-strike machine, which co-invented with somebody else, or a quick quads.
I keep hearing about, quick quads.
Ultimate X. So all of these different games are all inventions by videopoker.com. Now, on their website, you're allowed to play the games and experiment with them and kind of learn about them. Like if you don't know what Extra Action Frenzy is, and there's no reason why you should know, you can go play it on there, and within 3 or 4 minutes, you'll say, oh, okay, now I understand what the gimmick is.
But now, like Quick Quads,
yes.
is that game even in the softwares, the Video Poker for Winners or Win Poker or any of the? It's not in my Win Poker because it's too old. But I mean, in the newer versions, do they handle those games?
The current versions out there, there is a iPad app that you can get from the people at videopoker.com, which will give you correction on that. Also, on the videopoker.com website itself, if you are a gold member, which is, I wasn't ready for this question. I think it's $79 a year or so much a month. when you play quick quads, they have a red light, green light feature, which will say green light if you made the right play, and red light if you made the wrong play, and yellow if you're kind of close. Now, they don't give you all the same information that you can get from Video Poker for Winners, such as how much of a difference it is from play 1 to play 2, but they will tell you if you're right or wrong. And this information isn't on any other commercially available software. So that's one of the uses for videopoker.com, is you get correction on quick quads, and that game's a lot of fun. And
also, there's another game that's what's that other game that with the multipliers where you're playing
you're talking
10
about,
hands and
you're talking about Ultimate X, I suspect.
Ultimate X, yeah, that's it.
So you can definitely practice that on videopoker.com, but they're not giving you correction on it. So there are a couple of different strategies used by smart players for Ultimate X. Sometimes it is you change your strategy for every change of multiplier. So if you're playing 10 play and there were no multipliers, that would be a sum of the multipliers of 10, which would be 1 on each of the lines. If you were dealt a full house on games and got a multiplier of 12 on all the lines, then your sum of the multipliers would be 120. So for every multiplier, there's slightly different strategies. So there can be up to 111 different strategies based on the sum of the multipliers. So there are players who pick 4 or 5 or 6 different strategy levels. Like if it's between 10 and 31, they use this strategy. If it's between 32 and 54, they use that one.
And where do they learn this? Where do you get that?
You got to work it out yourself. Now, on thewizardofodds.com, for several games, they have a single strategy. Now, the single strategy is you play the same, no matter what the multiplier is, you play it the same. And the single strategy, you give up about 0.05%, depending on the game. So recently, when the Palms, they used to have a 99.86 double bonus Ultimate X, and so a lot of players were playing the single strategy, which put them 99.80, but still with the 0.25 slot club and the mailers and the drawings and the stuff, it was quite a good play. So so there's now correction could be based on either one of those strategies, either the exact one or various kinds of simplified strategy. So currently there's no software anywhere available to the public that has correction for Ultimate X. I would like to get that created. I have been bugging the people. The people at videopoker.com are the ones behind Video Poker for Winners. But so far they haven't decided to invest in the version 2 of the software. But I keep bugging them. So they'll eventually will, I hope. Now we got a few minutes left before we go to commercials. One of the common things is, how do you find out which games are available at which casinos? And the website vpfree2.com, where VP stands for Video Poker and FREE free and the number 2.com. That lists every casino in the country and the best games in every denomination in that casino. That list isn't 100% accurate, but it's pretty close. You also mentioned slot clubs. You get more from slot clubs than you do from the game. To get the higher amount to get more than $10 an hour or so you can get from full pay deuces, you got to play games where the house has the edge on the game itself, but you add in the slot club, the mailers, then the promotions, including things like double points or drawings or something.
Now, but how do you avoid getting barred? Right? I mean, it's from what I understand, it's a lot like, table games players. If you only go play on double point days, they just bar you, right?
That has been a history. The casinos have learned what the smart players are doing, and if people follow that pattern, they have some casinos have kicked them out. Now, station casinos have kicked out far more than everybody else put together in the locals Vegas market. But all the casinos, including both our sponsors, have eliminated some players. One of the common ways for video poker players is to occasionally play on days that there's no promotion going on, or occasionally play slots or something. If you're always playing the best game on the games where they have the best promotions, that identifies you pretty clearly, and you don't want to be easily identifiable. So exactly the way in which you disguise that is open to debate.
Makes sense.
All right. So the subject is actually, we're just getting started on this subject. We have some commercials to talk about, and so let's talk about that, and then there's some more things to talk about after the commercials. South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning more than 99%. It's more games than anyone else has. Every Thursday is Senior Slot Tournament Day, where $5,200 is given away weekly. All seniors get one free entry, and up to 2 more may be earned with a modest amount of play. They'll be having 2 times point days on Martin Luther King Day, Monday, January 20th, midnight to midnight, no limit. If you want to see me, look for quick quads during graveyard. The next semester of free video poker classes at the South Point will begin Wednesday, February 5th, and will continue weekly for 10 weeks. Jacks or Better is going to be the first class, and the current schedule can be found on bobdancer.com. At the Palms, they have completely reformatted the weekend drawings. It used to be Friday and Saturday at 8 o'clock. Now it's Friday only at 7:30. It used to be you could earn any number of tickets, however much you could play. Now there's a maximum to 100 tickets a day. So this turns the drawing into more of a low roller event, and so the players who are willing to play a lot do not have the advantages they had before. So the players who can only afford to play a small amount, this shifts the odds into your favor a little bit. On Friday and Saturday evenings, you receive 5 times drawing tickets, but there's still a limit of 100 tickets per day. Play, Earn, and Win, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday gift giveaways from now until January 17th. They have a theme of warm and toasty. The top prize is Lowe's gift cards. You can earn up to, I think it's $375 of Lowe's gift cards each day, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Your points stay active for the entire week. And as always, you get to keep your points. Starting January 20th, you can be earning free slot play. I don't know so far how much free slot play you can earn. It's going to be at least $200, which is going to be $80,000 or $90,000 to coin in, which is more than enough for most players. But it's possible that it will be higher limits than that, which is in effect double points 3 days a week. Every Thursday, senior drawings, 4 o'clock, based on your play on Thursday. Even on Thursday, there's a limit of 100 tickets per person. Videopoker.com remains the best place to play and practice a wide variety of games, including Quick Quads, Ultimate X, Extra Draw Frenzy Poker, Hyper Bonus, many others. Often these games are the best returning games in a casino, and you need to practice to make sure you know how to play. Today's free daily contest is Hyper Bonus Poker. Tomorrow's Dream Card. Saturday is Super Times Pay. And Sunday is Extra Action Poker. Last 7 days of the month, there'll be a monthly contest which will offer larger prizes. Our guest next week will be Jeff Freeman. Jeff Freeman is president and CEO of the American Gaming Association. This is an organization who basically promotes gaming. Sponsored by the casinos, it lobbies various governmental agencies on the casino's behalf. The president for many years was Frank Fahrenkopf Jr., and recently changed to Jeff Freeman, and so we're going to get to know him a little bit better next week. A lot of the questions that we're going to be asking him is what the AGA does and how receptive are they to player input. All right.
And how much does a congressman cost these days?
Or you can ask him that. I don't know that you're going to get a straight answer.
I'll ask him that, but I'll bet he knows the answer.
Well, I'm sure it depends on how close to the election it is, and when I was thinking about preparing for Richard asking me the questions, it brought to mind the blackjack ball. The blackjack ball is a annual competition among the world's greatest blackjack players and several other people who are associated with gambling. I'm no longer a serious blackjack player, but I'm in the world of gambling, and so I'm invited. At the end of every evening is a competition for blackjack skills. Some of the things you need to do is, can you count down a deck in 10 seconds, or how many cards are in this stack, or can you shuffle chips, or can you cut cards so it's exactly 23 or some such number. And so
some of them are real skills and some of them are just, sort of nonsense,
Yeah.
Like shuffling chips obviously has nothing to do with anything.
But can you memorize a sequence of 20 cards or something? That can have some actual use. So in the blackjack world, having good skills like this is considered a good thing. Players know that it's good, and so they strive to. So professional blackjack players get these skills. In video poker, this doesn't happen so much. A lot of video poker players don't want to learn the skills. They want to get good enough at the games, but they don't want to learn every last little penalty card situation. I'm one of the few players who were saying the edge is getting so small. If you want to make it, you got to get every last little bit. So we got 30 seconds left, Richard. Did you have one last question, or that I won't have time to answer? Or
no, I think I need to get out there and start experimenting and see, and then I'm sure I'll have many more once I start playing.
Very good. And we can go on and on with this discussion. If it's been useful to people, tell us one way or the other at our website, and we'll do it again. Thank you very much, Richard. Good night, everybody. Go out and hit lots of royal flushes.
Good night.
You've been listening to Gambling with an Edge with your hosts, Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin. Subscribe to the show in iTunes, and episodes will be delivered to you automatically every week. Archived versions of past shows may be found at bobdancer.com and richardmunchkin.com. We welcome emails at gamblingwithanedge@gmail.com. Bob Dancer and Richard Munchkin are both available on Facebook and welcome your questions. The sponsors for the show are the South Point Hotel, Casino and Spa, the M Resort, the Palms Casino Resort, and the website videopoker.com. Join us again next week for another Gambling with an Edge.